Welcome to the Vibes Lab, your front row seat to the science behind VIA, the Vibes AI agentic platform making everyday brain health accessible to all. Every episode is designed to reveal insights that will enhance your cognitive health and well-being. Follow us to grab your lab key and experience limitless intelligence.
Ever feel like you're at a party and you just can't tune into the one conversation you want to hear?
You mean like trying to have a chat at a crowded restaurant?
Exactly. Like your ears just aren't cooperating. Turns out there's a whole science to how we process sound.
It's called sound therapy. And it's not just for relaxation. It's about actually enhancing how our brains work.
We've got a stack of research on this, stuff from MIT, even some cool things from Vibes AI.
Yeah, there's some groundbreaking work being done.
So our mission today is to really unpack this whole sound therapy thing.
We're going to look at the science, explore different approaches, and see how companies like Vibes AI are using this to create, well, pretty amazing tools.
Tools that could change how we experience the world. Kind of a big deal. But first, let's break down the basics.
Right. Sound therapy leverages the brain's neuroplasticity.
Neuroplasticity.
It's the brain's ability to adapt and rewire itself. Sound therapy uses this to enhance auditory processing.
So, like a workout, but for our ears.
That's a great way to put it. It's about training your brain to better process the soundscape around you.
Imagine being able to pick out a single instrument in a noisy orchestra.
Exactly. That's the level of precision we're talking about.
Now, our research mentions this MIT study about our brains having a built-in noise filtering system.
Oh yeah, that was a fascinating study. They found that certain neurons in the auditory cortex act like a cleanup crew.
A cleanup crew? What do you mean?
They suppress irrelevant sounds and amplify the ones you want to focus on, like a dynamic equalizer for your brain.
So our brain is constantly working to make sense of all the noise around us. It's not just passively listening.
Precisely. And that's what's so exciting about sound therapy.
It taps into this natural ability and uses sound to refine those filtering mechanisms.
We're essentially giving our auditory system a targeted workout.
I'm starting to get the picture here. Now, there's also this thing called the listening program, or TLP.
Ah, yes, TLP.
It uses filtered classical music and nature sounds to stimulate different parts of the brain.
They've had some really impressive results.
Really? Like what?
Well, in a 2020 study, they found that TLP significantly improved all 4 key areas of auditory processing.
Wait, hold on. 4 areas. What are those exactly?
They're measured by something called the SCAN test.
The SCAN test. Tell me more about that.
It's a standardized assessment. It evaluates things like auditory figure ground.
Auditory what now?
Figure ground. It's your ability to isolate a sound from background noise.
Ah, okay. Like being able to hear someone talking to you at a loud party.
Exactly. The SCAN test also looks at temporal processing, which is how you perceive the order and timing of sounds.
So basically how we make sense of the sounds we hear.
Right. And these skills are crucial for understanding speech, especially in challenging environments.
So if TLP improves these skills, we're not just talking about theory, we're talking about real-world benefits.
Absolutely. And what's cool about TLP is that it's a passive method. You just listen to the music through headphones.
Sounds pretty easy. But I'm guessing there are other approaches out there, right?
Oh, there are definitely other methods.
Like what?
Well, there's speech and noise training. As the name suggests, it helps you understand speech better in noisy environments.
That's something I think we could all use a little bit of. So how does it work?
It involves listening to recordings of speech with various levels of background noise.
So you're basically training your brain to filter out the distractions.
Yes, and this training can have benefits beyond just hearing. A 2021 study found it also improved working memory in kids with APD.
Working memory is crucial for learning and focusing, right?
You got it. So it's like a 2-for-1 deal better hearing and a boost in cognitive function.
Wow, that's impressive. Now, our research also mentioned something called therapeutic listening. What's that all about?
Therapeutic listening is a unique approach. It combines specially modified music with sensory integration therapy.
So it's not just about what you hear, but how your whole body responds.
Exactly. It's a more holistic approach that considers how our senses work together.
I'm intrigued. Can you give us an example?
Imagine listening to music that's been processed to emphasize specific frequencies or rhythms.
Okay, I'm following.
And this is often paired with activities that involve movement and touch.
So you're engaging multiple senses at once.
Right. And this helps to integrate the auditory input with other sensory systems.
Fascinating. So we've got TLP, working passively, speech and noise training for real-world challenges, and therapeutic listening taking a more holistic route.
Each approach has its own strengths and applications.
But now I'm really curious, how does Vibes AI fit into all of this?
That's where things get really interesting. Vibes AI is on the cutting edge of applying this research to create innovative tools.
Okay, but they're not the only ones, right? There are others working in this space.
There are, but Vibes AI is doing some particularly innovative work. They've developed something called the Auditory Processing Vibe Drop.
The Vibe Drop, what's that?
It incorporates elements from these various approaches we've been talking about. Plus, it draws on insights from pioneers in the field, like Stephen Porges.
Hold on, Stephen Porges. Remind me, who's that again?
He's a renowned neuroscientist, famous for his polyvagal theory. It explains how the vagus nerve, which is a major communication pathway in the body, influences our emotional and social responses.
Ah, right, I remember now. And his work is relevant to sound therapy, how?
Well, his work helps us understand how sound can impact the nervous system and potentially regulate stress.
Fascinating. And Vibes AI is using his work in their Vibe Drop.
They are. And they're also drawing on the work of Dr. Alfred Tomatis.
Dr. Tomatis. Okay, now that name rings a bell, but I can't quite place it.
He was a French ear, nose, and throat doctor who developed the Tomatis method. It's a form of sound therapy that uses filtered sounds to improve auditory processing, attention, and communication.
Okay, I see the connection now. So Vibes AI is taking all this research and creating something new.
Exactly. They're using carefully selected sound patterns to stimulate those neural pathways involved in auditory processing.
Like a targeted workout for your ears.
That's a great analogy. And they've even incorporated specific frequencies, like 40 hertz, which some research suggests might help mitigate cognitive decline.
Wait, 40 hertz frequencies? What's the significance of that?
Well, there's growing evidence that 40 hertz brainwave activity is linked to attention, memory, and overall cognitive function.
So it's not just about sharper hearing, but potentially about keeping our minds sharp as we age.
It's an area of active research, but it's a very promising avenue.
This is pretty incredible. But I have to ask, is it really possible to get all these benefits just from listening to sounds?
You know, as exciting as all this research is, we have to acknowledge that it's still evolving.
Meaning?
Individual responses can vary. It's not a magic bullet, but it is a proactive tool.
A tool that can potentially enhance both our auditory processing and our overall cognitive well-being.
Exactly, and that's pretty powerful, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I'm definitely intrigued. So for someone who's curious and wants to explore these possibilities, what kind of benefits could they potentially experience with the auditory processing Vibe Drop?
Imagine this. You're at a bustling cafe, trying to have a conversation.
Okay, I can picture that. The clinking of cups, the chatter, the espresso machine hissing.
Right. It's noisy and distracting. But instead of struggling to hear your friend, you effortlessly tune in to their voice, as if the background noise has magically faded away.
Wow, that would be amazing. What else? Can you give me some more examples?
Picture yourself at a conference, fully engaged in a presentation, even though the speaker has a thick accent.
Okay, I've been there. Sometimes it's so hard to follow what they're saying.
But with enhanced auditory processing, you grasp every nuance of their speech, effortlessly absorbing the information.
No more mental fatigue from straining to hear. I love it. So it's not just about hearing better in noise, it's about processing information more efficiently.
Exactly. Many users report feeling a heightened sense of auditory attention.
Like their ears have become more alert.
You could say that. They're able to react more quickly to sounds and process information faster.
So quicker reactions and better information absorption, amazing. Any other potential benefits?
Some people find their working memory improves after using the Vibe Drop. They remember details more easily, stay mentally sharp for longer.
And we know how crucial working memory is for everything we do. What about stress? Does the Vibe Drop have any impact on that?
Absolutely. A lot of users say they feel calmer and less stressed. It's like the Vibe Drop creates a sense of peace amidst the noise.
It makes sense. If you're not constantly bombarded by sound, you're naturally going to feel more relaxed. What about sleep?
Many users report significant improvement in their sleep. They fall asleep faster, sleep more soundly, wake up feeling refreshed.
This all sounds incredible, but is it really possible to experience all of this just from listening to sounds?
It's important to remember that everyone is different. What works for one person may not work the same way for another.
So it's not a guarantee, but it's a possibility.
Exactly, and I think that's what makes it so exciting. There's so much potential here.
Now, before we move on, you mentioned earlier that Vibes AI also has a restorative audio subscription. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Their restorative audio subscription offers a wider range of sound experiences, things designed for relaxation, focus, sleep, and more.
Sounds intriguing. So, for those who want to dive even deeper into the world of sound, that's a great option.
Absolutely. It's a fantastic way to explore the potential of sound for enhancing your well-being.
So, we've covered a lot of ground here, from the science of sound therapy to the different approaches and even the exciting work that Vibes AI is doing.
It's a fascinating field with so much potential.
But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I think it's important to acknowledge that this research is still ongoing.
Yes, absolutely. And individual results may vary.
That's a crucial point to make. So, for someone who's thinking about incorporating sound therapy into their life, what does that mean? Should they be cautious?
Cautious. No, I wouldn't say that. But informed, definitely. Do your research, understand the potential benefits and limitations, and have realistic expectations.
And of course, if you have any concerns, talk to a doctor or other qualified healthcare professional.
Always a good idea. And speaking of research, Vibes AI is actually doing their own research.
They are. That's interesting. What are they studying?
They're trying to better understand the impact of their vibe drops, and they're inviting listeners like you to participate.
Really? How can our listeners get involved?
They can take surveys before and after using the vibe drop. It helps Vibes AI track the effects and refine their approach.
So our listeners can actually be part of shaping the future of sound therapy research. That's pretty cool.
It's a great opportunity to contribute to our understanding of this field. Citizen science in action.
And speaking of empowerment, that's what this whole deep dive is about, right? Giving our listeners the knowledge to make informed decisions about incorporating sound therapy into their lives.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
We're giving you the information you need to understand how sound therapy works, why it might be beneficial, and how to approach it in a way that's safe and effective.
So it's not just about passively listening. It's about taking an active role in your own well-being journey.
Exactly. And remember, you're not alone in this. There are researchers, therapists, and even companies like Vibes AI who are dedicated to exploring the power of sound to enhance our lives.
It's a whole community of people who are passionate about this.
And it's growing all the time.
So as we move into the next part of our deep dive, I want to leave you with this thought-provoking question. What if you could rewire your brain to experience the world of sound in a whole new way?
What if you could hear with a clarity and focus you never thought possible?
What if you could unlock new levels of cognitive potential simply by tapping into the power of sound?
It's a question worth pondering, and it's a possibility that's becoming increasingly real.
We've been diving deep into the science of sound therapy. It's pretty amazing how our brains can change and adapt.
It really is.
Yeah.
And the potential benefits go way beyond just hearing better in noisy places.
You know, I was thinking about that. We talked about those cognitive benefits. What else is there?
Well, imagine learning a new language, but this time you're picking up those subtle nuances effortlessly.
Oh, like those tricky pronunciations that always trip me up.
Exactly. Or think about musicians, they could use sound therapy to fine-tune their listening.
So they could hear every note with more clarity and precision.
Precisely. And this applies to other creative fields too. A filmmaker, for example, could use it to create a richer soundscape for their movies.
Wow, so we're not just talking about improving our hearing, but enhancing our overall experience of sound.
Exactly. And then there are the benefits for people in demanding jobs, like air traffic controllers or teachers in noisy classrooms.
Sound therapy could help them stay focused and alert, even under pressure. It's like giving them a superpower.
Right. And speaking of superpowers, let's talk about stress reduction.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. In today's world, it feels like we're constantly bombarded by noise. It's exhausting.
It really is. But remember how the vibe drop can create an auditory oasis?
Right. It's like training your brain to filter out all that irrelevant noise and focus on what matters.
And it's not just about filtering. Sound therapy can actually activate the part of our nervous system responsible for relaxation.
So we're not just blocking out the bad, we're actively promoting a sense of calm.
Exactly. Which can have amazing ripple effects on our sleep, our mental clarity, our resilience.
It's like sound therapy creates this positive feedback loop for well-being. I love that.
Me too. And it's not just theory. People are actually experiencing these benefits.
Oh, I'd love to hear some real-life examples.
Well, there's this writer who used the vibe drop to overcome writer's block. She said it quieted her mind and helped her tap into her creativity.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like sound therapy unlocked her creative potential.
Right. And then there was this young student who had trouble focusing in school. After using the vibe drop, his teachers noticed a huge improvement.
He was able to concentrate better and actually enjoy learning. That's amazing.
It really is. And these are just a couple of examples. As more people try sound therapy, we're bound to uncover even more benefits.
It's so exciting to think about the possibilities. As an expert in this field, what do you think is the most important thing for our listeners to keep in mind?
I'd say approach sound therapy with an open mind and a sense of curiosity. Don't be afraid to experiment.
So it's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing?
Nope. Everyone's different. What works for one person might not work for another. Pay attention to your body and find what resonates with you.
Great advice. So it's a journey of exploration and discovery. What are some good starting points for our listeners?
We've already talked about the listening program and the vibe drop from Vibes AI.
And their restorative audio subscription is great for exploring a wider range of sounds.
There are also tons of resources online and in local communities. Look for sound therapists, sound healers, or even just groups of people who are passionate about sound.
It's about finding your tribe and learning from each other.
Exactly. And one last thing. Don't underestimate the power of everyday sounds. Take a moment to really listen to the birds singing, the wind in the trees.
It's like a free sound therapy session right outside our door.
You got it. The world is full of beautiful sounds, just waiting to be discovered.
What a beautiful way to put it. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the science to the personal stories, but I feel like we've only scratched the surface.
There's always more to learn and explore. But for now, let's just take a moment to appreciate the incredible power of sound.
We'll be back soon to wrap things up and explore the future of sound therapy and the evolving relationship between humans and sound. Stay tuned. We've explored the science, the methods, the real-world benefits. Now let's talk about the future. What's next for sound therapy?
Well, one thing that really excites me is personalized sound therapy.
Personalized, you mean like tailored to each individual?
Exactly. Imagine a future where your sound therapy is as unique as your fingerprint, designed specifically for your brain and your goals.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How would that even work?
Think about it. Your smartwatch could monitor your brain waves and then adjust the soundscape in real time. Need to focus. The sounds shift to boost your attention. Feeling stressed. The soundscape changes to promote relaxation.
That sounds pretty futuristic, but it's amazing to think that might actually be possible.
It's closer than you think. We're already seeing companies like Vibes, AI, use algorithms and machine learning to personalize sound experiences. And as technology advances, the possibilities are just going to keep expanding.
What other breakthroughs are on the horizon?
Well, researchers are exploring how sound can be used to treat serious conditions like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, even chronic pain.
Really, sound can help with all of that.
We're still in the early stages of research, but the potential is huge. We're just starting to understand how sound interacts with our nervous system at such a deep level.
This is all incredibly exciting. But like with any powerful technology, we need to be mindful of the ethical implications, right?
Absolutely. That's a crucial point. We need to make sure these advancements are used responsibly.
So what are some of the challenges we might face as sound therapy becomes more sophisticated and more widespread?
Well, one challenge is ensuring that everyone has equal access to these technologies.
Right. We don't want to create a situation where only the wealthy or privileged can benefit.
Exactly. We need to be mindful of potential disparities based on things like socioeconomic status or geographical location.
Equity is key. What other ethical considerations should we be thinking about?
Privacy is a big one. As we develop more personalized sound experiences, we'll be collecting a lot of data about people's brain activity and listening habits.
So how do we make sure that data is protected and used ethically?
We need to have strong privacy protocols in place, and we need to make sure that this data is only used for good, never for manipulation or exploitation.
It's like walking a tightrope. We want to unlock the benefits of personalized sound therapy, but we also need to safeguard people's privacy.
You've got it. It's a balancing act for sure. And then there's the potential for misuse. Sound, like any powerful tool, can be used for harm.
What do you mean? Can you give us an example?
Well, imagine someone using sound to manipulate people's emotions or behavior without their consent.
Oh, I see what you mean. That's a scary thought.
It is. And it's something we need to be aware of and actively work to prevent. We need to make sure that these technologies are used ethically and for the benefit of all.
It's a reminder that with every new advancement comes a responsibility to use it wisely.
Precisely. But if we can navigate these challenges, the future of sound therapy is incredibly promising.
So, despite the potential downsides, you're still optimistic.
Oh, absolutely. The potential benefits are just too great to ignore. We're talking about improving people's lives in profound ways.
It's all about finding that balance, right? Between the excitement of innovation and the responsibility that comes with it.
Exactly. And I think that's a challenge we can rise to.
I agree. So, as we wrap up our deep dive, I'm left with a sense of awe and wonder.
Me too. There's something truly magical about sound and its power to impact our lives.
We've explored the science, the possibilities, the potential pitfalls, but ultimately it's up to each of us to decide how we want to engage with this technology.
And to think, we're just at the beginning of this journey.
It's an exciting time to be alive. So much potential to unlock, so much to learn.
And as we move forward, it's crucial that we stay informed, stay engaged, and stay curious.
Well said. That about wraps up our deep dive into the world of auditory enhancement.
Thank you for listening. And remember, keep exploring the world of sound and all the amazing possibilities it holds.
Until next time, happy listening.